On First at 9 this Thursday, the 10th of April 2025. U-turn. Trump forces imposition of reciprocal tariffs for 90 days, less than 24 hours after they came into effect. Tariffs against China increased to a staggering 125%. United in adversity. Opposition extends support to government in tackling US tariffs against Sri Lanka. Pursuit of justice. Government vows to take legal action against all implicated in Patalanda Commission report. President to appoint committee to probe individuals named. Bailed. IGP Deshabandhu Tennakon granted bail.
Chilo Dairy, Sri Lankawama Kiren Perata. Obe Vishwasi Dinu Sensorain, then Lagamati Pharmacy in Labagata Hacker.
Kanta Parisan Karagato?
From Derana, this is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9, brought to you by the nation's most trusted news source, Derana. I'm Tharindu Mahendra, joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world. Now, in your top story this evening, US President Donald Trump has paused for 90 days the imposition of the new reciprocal tariffs against several countries, including Sri Lanka, less than a day after they came into effect. However, Trump increased US tariffs against China to 125% as China's 84% tariffs against US imports came into effect. Meanwhile, in Sri Lanka, senior economic advisor to the president, Duminda Hulangama, noted that government has set specific proposals to the US on measures to reduce the trade deficit between the nations. The United States' new reciprocal tariffs against over 100 countries came into effect yesterday, as announced by President Donald Trump on the 2nd of April. Among the countries most affected was Sri Lanka, which was hit with a 44% tariff on all goods exported to the US. Against this backdrop, Sri Lankan President Anura Dissanayake forwarded a letter to his US counterpart requesting collaboration with regard to the tariffs. According to the White House, over 75 nations have forwarded similar letters, and in view of these requests, President Trump has decided to temporarily pause the imposition of the tariffs against several countries, including Sri Lanka, less than 24 hours after they came into effect. Effective immediately, the imposition of the tariffs will be paused for 90 days. During this period, the relevant countries will only be hit with the 10% universal baseline tariff. However, Trump kept the pressure on China with an increase of tariffs on Chinese imports to 125% from the 104% level that kicked in yesterday.
I did a 90-day pause for the people that didn't retaliate, because I told them if you retaliate, we're going to double it. And that's what I did with China, because they did retaliate. A deal's going to be made with China. A deal's going to be made with every one of them, and they'll be fair deals. I just want fair. They will be fair deals for everybody, but they weren't fair to the United States. They were sucking us dry, and you can't do that.
This is the fifth instance the Trump administration has increased tariffs against China. On the 1st of February, the US imposed a 10% tariff against China, citing allegations of Beijing's role in the fentanyl crisis. At the time, China responded by imposing 15% duties on coal and liquefied natural gas products and a 10% tariff on crude oil, agricultural machinery and large engine cars imported from the US. Subsequently, on March 4th, the US doubled China's tariffs to 20%. Later, on the 2nd of April, which he called Liberation Day, Trump increased the tariff on Chinese goods to 34%. On April 8th, China responded with 84% tariffs, which prompted the US to raise its tariffs to 104%. Despite the US increasing tariffs against it to 125% today, China said it is open to negotiations with its closest competitor at any moment.
The door to talks is open, but dialogue must be conducted on an equal basis with mutual respect. China will stand by its position until the end. The legitimate development rights of the Chinese people and the people of the world cannot be taken away.
This follows Australia declining Beijing's proposal to work together to counter US tariffs, saying saying instead it would continue to diversify its trade and lower its reliance on China, its largest trading partner. Meanwhile, following Trump's announcement of the pause in tariff imposition, the European Union also paused its 25% counter tariffs against the US. Financial markets in Asia and Europe also made gains today in the wake of the pause on US tariffs. Meanwhile, Sri Lanka's Board of Investment today held an open dialogue with its top 50 exporters to seek alternative strategies to mitigate the consequences of the US tariffs on Sri Lanka.
We were in touch with the US Trade Representative's office. Virtually, we had at least 3 or 4 calls. The President wrote a letter to President Trump. We delivered it to the White House on Sunday evening, and it was acknowledged by the White House. We offered reciprocal tariff adjustments to remove trade barriers to see how you can reduce the deficit in terms of shifting imports from some other place to the US. Then she asked for a telephone conversation with the US President. We are told it might come one of these days. In the meantime, once our letter was received by the White House, we got a reply from them to say we want to see details in terms of what specific HS codes are you going to give relief to and what specific proposals we can give from our end. That letter was delivered yesterday morning to the USTR.
පිරිපුන් ජීවිතයකට ඔබ සමගින් පෙරට Union Assurance. චන්දරුසුමේ කාගෙන් මන අපේ සිංහ TV සඳහා සුපිරි ඩීල්.
President Anura Dissanayake convened a party leaders meeting today as requested by the opposition to hold discussions regarding the impact of the new US reciprocal tariffs on the country. During the meeting, opposition leaders agreed to support government in dealing with the new tariffs.
Following the requests of several opposition party leaders, President Anura Dissanayake convened a party leaders meeting at the Presidential Secretariat this morning to discuss the impact of the new US reciprocal tariffs on Sri Lanka and to inform of the steps already taken by the government in that regard. During the meeting, the President informed the opposition representatives of the findings of the committee appointed to conduct an in-depth study on potential issues that may arise due to the tariffs, and to submit recommendations to the government. Meanwhile, a joint proposal containing the suggestions on the impact of the US tariffs and the measures that can be taken was presented by the leader of Sarva Jana Balaya parliamentarian Dirit Jayavira and Samagi Jana Bala Vega's parliamentarian Dayasri Jayasekara.
We believe that sending a delegation with knowledge of the subject to the United States is crucial. There are various institutions who are contributing to the policy-making process. Being in contact with the White House is very important since they take many decisions. Therefore, we believe that is a crucial matter. We kindly request to send a delegation to the United States. No matter how small we are as a nation, let's send a delegation.
Medium term අත්‍යවශ්‍යම කාරණාව තමයි
What is most important in the medium term, as we've been saying, is to tear down the barriers around our country and build bridges. That is what we need because we are one of the most isolated countries in the world.
අපි ලෝකේ වැහිච්චම රටක්.
විශේෂිත කරුණ සම්බන්ධයෙන්
It is about how our country can put forward a voice and how it can be a unified voice. We have to see whether we present our case from a humanitarian angle by stating our hardships. We can build a framework after discussing these facts.
කරුණු සාකච්ඡා කරලා අන්න ඒකට පොඩි ආකෘතියක් හදලා
ඒ කියන්නේ දැන් මේ උත්සව සමය අවසන් වුණාම මොකක්ද ඒක නියෝජිත කණ්ඩායමක්.
After the festive season, I will take the responsibility of appointing a committee comprising representatives from both sides to monitor the situation daily. We are holding discussions on free trade agreements, and I am thankful for your suggestions regarding that matter. In this specific issue, we will focus on reducing the trade deficit, and we will discuss agreements regarding granting concessions for imports that are subject to special levies. Like you all said, we must properly discuss it and send a delegation. Like the opposition leader said, how can we diversify exports and export destinations? We depend on a limited amount of goods and services. We have only accessed a limited number of markets. We must focus on how to develop the number of markets, and we must discuss the diversification of our export portfolio. Recently, we convened the National Council of Exporters after several years.
අවුරුදු කීපයකට පසු අපි කැඳෙව්වා අපනයන ජාතික සභාව.
Meanwhile, President Dissanayake, speaking at an NPP rally, stated that government will develop a systematic approach to face repercussions of the new year's tariffs and build a strong economy.
Another NPP public rally themed "Outcome is Clear, Victory is Ours" in view of the upcoming local government election was held in Kandy today. under the patronage of President Anura Dissanayaka.
අපිට අද එක්සත් ජනපදයේ යම් තීන්දුව తీරු නිසා යම් ආර්ථිකයට බලපෑමක් වීමේ අනතුරු ඇඟවෙමින් තිබෙනවා.
We have received certain warnings regarding the new tariffs by the United States negatively impacting our economy. We have to face them. The new tariff regulations by the US, a world war or a global pandemic could impact our economy at any given moment. We should build an unwavering economy that could endure any threat. I have personally addressed US President Donald Trump in a letter to resolve this matter. They have confirmed the receipt of the letter. The Secretary to the Treasury has proposed measures to resolve the matter. Today we held an all-party conference to discuss the matter with all political parties. We are ready to accept their opinions. We will develop systematic plans to save the country from the adverse effects of the tariffs. If we cannot avoid them, then we will develop strategies to face them successfully. It is our responsibility to build an unwavering economy that can withstand such threats.
නැවත ණය ගෙවීමට සමත් වෙන ආර්ථිකයක් බවට මේ ආර්ථිකය පත් කිරීම සඳහා සැලසුම් හදනවා.
Now, the parliamentary debate on the report of the Commission of Inquiry into the alleged establishment and operation of illegal detention centres and torture chambers in the Batalanda housing scheme was held in Parliament today. Joining the debate, Leader of the House, Minister Bimal Ratnayake vowed to initiate legal action against former President Ranil Wickremesinghe and others named accountable in the Batalanda Commission report. The government said international support will be sought if necessary. The Commission report was tabled in Parliament on the 14th of March.
රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහතා හා ජ්‍යෙෂ්ඨ පොලිස් අධිකාරී නලින් දෙල්ගොඩ මහතා.
It is stated that Ranil Wickremesinghe and Senior Superintendent of Police Nalin Delgoda are responsible for maintaining unlawful detention and torture chambers in houses B2, B8, B34 and A1/8 of the Batalanda housing scheme. When this is mentioned in the report, he tells Al Jazeera that the JVP incited unrest based on the Indo-Lanka Accord in 1997. They are trying to bring 1983 and 1987 together and fabricate a story. They first banned the JVP. This was not in 1983 or 1987. Is this a deceptive political tactic or have they simply forgotten? Liana Arachi was admitted to the Colombo National Hospital at around 11 p.m. on the 2nd of September. After about 30 minutes past midnight, the patient stopped breathing.
මධ්‍යම රාත්‍රියේ පසුවේ විනාඩි 30කට පමණ පසුව එම රෝගියාගේ හුස්ම ගැනීම
Vijayadasa Lianarachi's cause of death was due to blunt force trauma and bleeding. Ranil Wickremesinghe is connected to these murders and should be responsible for these murders. You all dug up unwanted trash. You remember this after 34 to 35 years. There were 10 JVP MPs in Parliament when it was tabled in 2001. President Anura Dissanayaka was one of them. None of those MPs spoke during that debate on Batalanda. They were reminded of this only after it was brought up by Al Jazeera. They came into power promising that they would bring the former central bank governor who is hiding in Singapore back to Sri Lanka. However, they have failed to do so. You established a government with Chandrika. Anura Kumara Dissanayaka was the Minister of Irrigation. They never thought of bringing this up back then. He even worked with Mahinda Rajapaksa to bring him to power. Did he then request to take up in Parliament the Batalanda Commission report? Anura and Ranil stood on the same stage with a shared goal of bringing Fonseca to power in 2010. Are we the ones who worked with Ranil? If I continue to speak of the truth, they will be helpless, and if we go to talk about the past, we could dig up dirt on anyone. Though it has been 35 years since this report was compiled, the contents won't remain for 35 after they are revealed. This was presented to the Attorney General. We are debating on this to make the public aware. We could not speak about this back then. A member of parliament once questioned why we did not bring this up when we were in power previously. Can we expect justice from the murderers?
Deputy Minister Wattagala stated that the Lanka Samasamaja Party was not involved in the unrest. Wickremabahu nor Vasudeva Nanayakara were involved. However, 24 people in their party were murdered. I am tabling the lists in Parliament. Wickremabahu was shot at twice. 43 persons of the Sri Lanka Communist Party were murdered. 22 persons of the Samasamaja Party were murdered. 100 141 of the Sri Lanka Marginal Party, 4 persons of the Independent Students Union and 24 others from leftist parties were murdered. I'm also tabling a list of monks who were murdered, 171 out of 420 who were murdered in the Mathare district, and also 83 out of 98 who were killed in my electoral division.
මගේ ආසනයේ ඝාතනය වෙච්ච 98න් 83 දෙනෙකුගේ නමුත් මම මේ සභාවට අද සභාගත කරනවා.
What is there to talk about Batalanda? Was there only one camp? The Beragala camp was bigger than Batalanda. Who was the executor of the Beragala camp? It is none other than your minister. I won't say his name as it would make him helpless. There was a no confidence motion against Ranil Wickremesinghe in 2018. Who voted for it? 6 persons voted in favour of keeping him in power. There are 6 persons who think Ranil Wickremesinghe cannot be defeated. Vimal Ratnayaka and Hadun Nethi are seen smiling.
අද අපිට කියනවා අපි බටලන්ද කතා කරන්නේ රනිල් අල්ජසීරා එකේ ෆෙරාරිය ක්‍රෑෂ් කරගත්තේ නිසා.
We are accused of waiting till Ranil brought up the Batalanda Commission report during the Al Jazeera interview to talk about it. That is not the case. We had the aim of freeing our country from corruption and transforming the nation into one that respects justice. We have not taken weapons into our hands for 35 years. 8 of our brothers were killed during elections after 1994. It is because we are aware of the power of weapons. The main perpetrators will be punished by the judiciary. We will take every possible legal action against Ranil Wickremesinghe, at least during the last few years of his life. We will bring in the best officials from the world if necessary.
Fast track your career from O levels with eSoft.
ඩයිබටසෝල් සීනිවලින් පරිස්සම් වන ඔබට අමතක නොවන පෝෂණය.
කැලනි වයර් කිසිගින්නක් නෑ.
කිසිගින්නක් නෑ. කැලනි ෆයර් ෂීල්ඩ් වයර්.
Former President Ranil Wickremesinghe says MP Chamara Sampath Dasanayake withdrew the fixed deposits belonging to the Uva Provincial Council, over which he is now facing corruption charges in accordance with a circular issued during his tenure as the Prime Minister. The former President questioned whether the MP's arrest over the matter was in response to his vocal criticism of the government in Parliament. Parliamentarian Chamara Sampath Dasanayaka's family members met with me. When I was the Prime Minister during former President Maithripala Sirisena's tenure, the Secretary to the Treasury, with my knowledge, issued a circular noting that it was prohibited to place the funds of provincial councils in deposit accounts. The funds provided by the central government to provincial councils, as well as those received through other means, must be expended within a year, or else they must be returned to the Treasury or Finance Ministry of the Provincial Council. The protocol was put in place because it is illegal to leave the funds of provincial councils in deposit accounts to be used for other projects later. It was in accordance with this circular that the pertinent funds were withdrawn from the deposit account. A commission adjudicated on this matter, but it did not find that MP Chamara Sampath had committed a wrongdoing. Now legal proceedings are being conducted regarding these same facts. When MP Chamara Sampath arrived to provide a statement, rumours of him being arrested were already circulating. How does that happen? That makes us question if this matter is related to the fact that MP Chamara Sampath is a vocal critic of the government in Parliament. He should request a parliamentary inquiry into this matter, because if this suspicion is true, it is a breach of parliamentary privileges. Now, suspended Inspector General of Police Deshabandhu Tennakon, who was placed under remand custody for a fatal shooting that took place in Valigama in 2023, was granted bail today by the Mathare magistrate on 2 surety bonds of 1 million rupees each. However, amid additional Solicitor General Dileep Pire's strong objections against granting bail to the suspended IGP, the Mathare magistrate ordered the case to be recalled on the 22nd of next month. Suspended Inspector General of Police Deshabandhu Tennakon, who was evading arrest in relation to the legal proceedings regarding the fatal shooting in Valigama Mathare in 2023, surrendered to court on the 19th of March and was placed under remand custody. The suspended IGP, who was held in remand custody, was produced before the Mathare Magistrates Court today under heightened security. Mathare Magistrate Aruna Buddhadasa announced the decision regarding the bail application made by Tennakon's lawyers today, stating that the court was of the opinion that there was considerable time to conduct investigations into Tennakon and further investigations can be conducted without him being detained. Accordingly, the suspect was ordered to be released on 2 surety bonds of 1 million rupees each. However, additional Solicitor Solicitor General Dileepa Piris, who appeared for the prosecution, strongly objected to the ruling, stating that granting bail to Tennakon might lead to the failure of the investigation. The additional Solicitor General stated that he hopes to request a revision regarding the order. Making another revelation regarding the fatal shooting, Additional Solicitor General Dileepa Piris stated that Deputy Inspector General of Police Nishanta Zoiza, who recorded nearly a 10.5-hour-long statement in relation to the incident, had reported threats against him by Tennakon and had requested protection. Highlighting that this was the first time in his professional career a DIG had requested protection from a court, the Additional Solicitor General emphasized that the suspect must be held in custody until the conclusion of the investigation. Meanwhile, President's Counsel Shanaka Ranasinghe, who represented suspended IGP Tennakon, requested special protection for his client until he leaves the court premises. However, the Additional Solicitor General objected to the request. After considering the facts presented, Matara Magistrate Aruna Buddhadasa rejected the request for special protection for the suspect and ordered the case to be recalled on the 22nd of May. The Court of Appeal today ordered to accept 35 more nominations for the local government elections, which were previously rejected by the respective returning officers. Today's mandate covers nominations that were disqualified in relation to birth certificates, certification by Justices of the Peace, and the oath taken under the 7th schedule to the Constitution. Accordingly, relevant returning officers have been ordered to accept the nominations. Last week, the Appeal Court ordered the acceptance of 37 nominations for the local government elections that had been previously rejected. The order was issued after hearing petitions filed by political parties and independent groups on the rejection of nominations for the 2025 local government elections. Welcome back. You're joining First at 9 once more on Other Derana 24. Now, card-based transactions will be allowed for toll payments on expressways starting this week as a pilot project. The Ministry of Transport and Highways said the trial run will be implemented initially at the Kottava and Kadawatha interchanges. Motorists using the two expressway interchanges will be able to make payments via debit or credit cards as well as via QR code scanning. Following the pilot project, the Transport and Highways Ministry aims to roll out card payment facilities across all expressways in Sri Lanka by May. Sri Lanka sold 100 billion rupees in 2029 and 2034 bonds during today's auction as the secondary market saw a decisive shift from the sustained selling sentiment, a trend largely owing to US President Donald Trump's tariff measures. A total of 75 billion rupees was raised through the December 2029 maturity with a weighted average yield of 10.64%. 25 billion rupees was secured through the September 2034 maturity, which show a weighted average yield of 11.21%. The auction was notably fully subscribed, reflecting improved investor confidence. The market's mood turned on the back of the United States announcement of a 90-day suspension of reciprocal tariffs for most countries, including Sri Lanka. Investors, buoyed by this favorable turn of events, pivoted to a buying sentiment. Globally, a manic bond sell-off eased today after the US president said he would temporarily lower some of the hefty duties. Meanwhile, the Colombo Stock Exchange bounced back from yesterday's dip with a sharp surge during the first 10 minutes of trading, followed by slight volatility during remaining trading hours. Global markets also gained traction in a relief rally with the announcement of Trump's tariff pause for 90 days. In Colombo, the benchmark all-share price index gained 705 points, reflecting a 4.74% surge to end trading at 15,581. Both high net worth and retail investors remained active during the session, contributing to higher turnover. Strong buying interest was noted among banking and blue chip counters. A 7 billion rupee turnover was marked, an increase of 190.9% over the monthly average of 2.4 billion. Banking sector was the highest contributor to overall turnover with a 43% share, followed by capital goods at 22% and consumer durable sector at 6%. Foreign investors were net buyers with a net inflow of 122.3 million rupees. Now in the forex market, the Sri Lankan rupee weakened against the US dollar, closing at 301.20 to the US dollar. This is the first time since September 2024 the rupee fell to over 300 against the dollar. Meanwhile, overnight liquidity in the banking system decreased to 135.3 billion, down from 177.7 billion rupees in the last session. With that, here's a look at today's exchange rates. And that's all for tonight on First at 9. Thank you for joining. Have a great night.